Alright folks, welcome back everyone. 皆さんお帰りなさい。今日は約33日目です。It is day 133. Let's get into our lessons today. What am I looking at? Oh, more humble requests. It seems like that's the theme near the end of N4, huh? So, alright, so we got te verb. Oh, itatake ka? Oh man. Itatake ka? It's a humble speech form of moraemasen ka? We have moraemasen ka? No, but now I know where that's coming from. I see. So which itself is the negative potential form of te morau, yeah. Have done by someone else. Yes. So this structure is a combination of te, the conjunctive particle, the verb itadaku to be topped with, okay, the polite negative auxiliary verb masen, and the question particle ka. Okay. Interesting. Generally, it is translated in a similar way as "te moraemasen ka?" Won't you or could you please a? Okay. All right.
すみませんが、後ろに乗っていただけませんか?
Can I hear that again?
すみませんが、後ろに乗っていただけませんか?
Itadakemasen ka? Okay.
危ないので少しだけ下がってもらえませんか?
Interesting. Yeah, 少しだけがって。This construction and itadaku itself can regularly be seen as, oh hey, it's got this character. Itadaku. Oh yeah, the humble side of things. Interesting. So this is the humble use. This kanji form. Due to this kanji literally meaning to be topped with, it is just, oh, that explains the summit. It's just acknowledging that the person that's doing the action for you or someone in your group is doing so from above. Sounds more respectful.
雪をいただいた山はとても綺麗だ。
いただいた。Interesting. Here we can see how to be top cap with meaning is used in a standard sentence. Yeah. Alright, so we need some. Okay. So all three are used in requesting something, right? Yeah. We got the kurenai and moraenai. Like, can you do A for me? But differ in tone. Okay, kurenai and murenai are casual and used for friends. Alright. As in, 日本語を教えてくれない? Okay, right. いただけませんか? いただけませんか? Is much more polite and therefore appropriate when asking someone like a boss. Okay. It's gonna take a while to sort all this out. And then kudasai is the please do something. However, is polite and neutral and can be used with strangers or people equal in status to you. For more formal situations, okay. Takemasenka is a more polite and humble request, often used when speaking to clients. Okay, this is where like it gets a little bit. We have casual, so we have casual, neutral, polite speech, and we're doing honorific language right now and polite speech, as opposed to request or yeah, humble language. So humble, polite speech, honorific language on top of your casual, neutral, and polite. Naide, yeah, don't, right? Related, okay. So kureru is this is related because instead of highlighting what the person is doing or talking about someone's action, doing it for you, or doing what they're doing, like talking about what they're doing or asking and whatnot. This is for you. Usually you're to do something for someone. Oh no, wait, it's the other way around. Yeah, no. It's usually the speaker's benefit. And this one is still a humble way to make a request. Yeah, but I guess this has a, I don't know the distinction between like usually talking about someone else or yourself, getting someone to do something for you again, right? However, by the way to ask a favor, both involve receiving help but different politeness. Huh. And then there was something about the focus on the speaker and or the descriptor of a person's actions. So that's kind of another layer that I'm trying to sort out at the moment. Okay. So what was it? Itada. Itada is linked to that kanji. So itada, yes, it's itadakeru. No, itadaku. That's where you get the kemasen. Yeah, okay. Alright. Oh, it didn't go into a grammar point related double. Again, when, from when, just when, if. The conjugation particle tada is used as a kind of halfway point between if and when in Japanese. It expresses the completion of an action and then B action that's considered to be the result A. It may be hypothetical or it may be presenting a one-time result of something that happened in the past. To use tada, it will replace ta. Interesting, in the simple past form of verbs. Okay. Or basically replacing it, but really the net result is adding a da at the end. Oh, okay. The E adjective with ta. I see. Then data. Okay, right. Okay.
今度遅れたら許さないよ。
遅れたったら、遅れたったら。許さいよ。ゆる？ Okay.
寒かったらエアコンつけてね。
What? Okay, that sentence is a little weird. Hang on. I'm having trouble for the E adjective and ta. Yes. Oh, it's because it's casual. Okay, then, alright.
彼のことが好きだったら彼に言った方がいい。
Okay.
明日だったら遊べるよ。
Okay. Despite appearing to be the past form of the word that is attached to tara itself does not actually carry the nuance of past, other words in the sentence will need to be examined to see whether tara is truly highlighting something from the past or simply the completion of something which may or may not happen in the future. I see. Okay. 来週だったら、行けるよ。Right. And then 先週だったら、行けたのに。Okay. Yep. Although tara is regularly used to mean if, it almost always has a nuance of when. This is due to tara specifically highlighting the following situation: completion, right? Kanryu, which is meaning completion, and materialization, seitatsu, coming to fruition of A. Their meanings are opposed to other if structures like right, and nara, which focus more strongly on the hypothetical if. Okay. 買い物に行ったら、クッキーを買ってきて、alright? あなたがその本を読まないなら、読まないなら、right? 読まないなら私が読みます。Okay. Alright. So, 後で fair enough, that is kind of related because it's showing when. 後で shows sequence, while there's kind of a if hypothetical in that. Right. Ba and tara are both conditioned, but with different nuance. Ba emphasizes the condition itself, often with an if and only if feel. Tara sets up a hypothetical which can be followed by a result or comment. Right. In between, and then nara and tara are both conditional, but different nuance in the usage. Nara means if it's the case that A, often implying this we believes it will happen, then something comes after, right? Tara covers the hypothetical and often focus on when, so we got that. Once is done. Oh, that's interesting too, because it indicates that one event follows another. So it's still kind of a if and when, but I see. Okay. All right. Uh-oh. Okani. Okay, yeah. Okanimo cannot be used in negative sentences. Oh, that's kind of counterintuitive to me. With the exception of questions. Okay. And then soto, another way to write hoka. Oh, okay, that's a hoka too. Alright. Interesting. Which makes sense. Outside. In another... outside of the thing. Alright. What are all these things? So hokano, that makes sense. What is that? Sono... one option. Hokanimo. Interesting. Verb. Hokanimo. Okay. Hokanimo just gets intuited a lot of times. Hokani is regularly considered to be one of the more difficult structures to master in Japanese, so let's take a thorough look at it. Basically, hoka by itself just means another or other. Ni highlights hoka, another thing, as being the target of what comes next in any particular sentence. The possibilities are as follows. Hokani, another thing. Hokanimo, even another thing. Sounds less certain, right? And then hokani wa was there another thing. Focuses on something pre-existing which someone may have forgotten.
他に欲しいものはある?
Okay.
動物園の他にもどこかへ行きますか?
Right.
他にはないものが食べたい.
Okay, I see. So, and then hokano plus a noun, another specific thing. Yeah, fair enough.
この電子レンジは壊れているので他の電子レンジをお使いになってください.
Okay. Hokani wa plus or minus wa may be used in either positive or negative sentences. Fair enough. But it tends to appear in negative sentence more often. Intriguing.
お金の他には何が欲しいですか?
Interesting.
彼の他にはフランス語を話せる人はいません.
話せる人は Oh, okay. Because hokani plus or minus mo focuses on the addition of another thing, it cannot be used in negative sentences with the exception of questions. I see. 欲しいものはその他にもない。Oh, yeah, that kind of sounds really weird. Okay. その他にも何か質問がありませんか? Oh, because yeah, I see. The reason this is acceptable in questions but not statements is due to the isn't it, meaning that negative questions can have in Japanese, just like English, is the equivalent of the following. No, in addition to this, there's also nothing. Yeah, that's what it felt like when I was reading this. I'm like, wait. It's contrastive, right? It's contrastive. It's kind of like negating something, but you can ask if there is nothing else, which is kind of a negative to make it a positive thing. Weirdly enough, wait. Oh, igai. I'm not used to seeing it this way. Igai written as kana. Igai emphasizes exception like except for or other than that. Attached directly after a noun means right. And then hokani highlights the presence of alternatives. Yep. Got you. Alright. So were there any special... Oh, no. I think I might forget that. Okay. And that's gonna be wild. This is pretty tame. Right. What? Hokani? What? Oh. Okawa? Oh. Wait. Where was this in... Wait. Hold up. Okay. Alright, I get it. It's kinda... There's one other phrase like this too. It's early on. Okay. Okano wa, ani wa. Okay, all the possibilities. Okay. Stay kimasen ka? Itatake ka?
犬を散歩していただけませんか？
勉強する? How do I do this? 勉強だったらね? Oh, I do have. Oh, yeah, I do have to take the suru. Okay, okay.
勉強したらテストは簡単になる。
Alright. Our vocabulary. Alright. What are you? Anjo. Anjo is... No, Manju. Manju... Is this the bun thing? Okay. Manju. Interesting. I didn't realize they call it that. Or like they use those. Guess makes sense. It's like mantol. Right, mantol. Okay. Let's see. Bonodori. Bonodori. Recent. Bonodori. What do we have here? Oh, Shirokuro. Shirokuro is just black and white. Kuro. Or good and evil, contrastive stuff. Right, wrong, etc. Meishin. Superstition. Okay. Mita. Mita. Okay. Alright. Alright, panda. Okay. Ryo is good. Urikireru. Urikireru. Sold out. Yeah, to be sold out. We did have urikire. Urikiri? Kiri? Something. Urikireru is okay. Compound verbs are nice. Oh no. Sports sensu. Sports sensu. Okay. Oh, interesting. They didn't use the other marriage proposal. Oh, there, Mika. What is this? Propose. Okay. Definitely learned a different word for marriage proposal. Yo. Both of something. It's a prefix. Okay. Karate is fine. Oh, Koldo. Makes sense. Auditorium. Yeah. It's good. Koku. Kokusai. Kokusai. Kaiken. Kaike. Hanken. No. Hanken. So let's think about this. This is relations. Relations is right, and then this is everything outside, like around the country. So international relations. Actually, I'm a little weak on the site. What do I think that is? The mount? Kind of festival-y. Occasion. Country occasion. Relations. What was our breakdown? Festival and building? Aye. So, kokusai kanke. Kokusai kanke. Okay. Wait. Tokoya? That's new. I don't remember Toko being used that way. Yeah, because that's bed. That's also bed and floor. A barbershop? Interesting. Tokoya. That is a weird way to say a barbershop. I wonder what the history behind that is. That's gonna take some time. Toko is also kunyomi. Ro would be the onyomi. Probably not going to have anything. So, okay, how do I do the compound stuff? Probably like show, floor, Toko. And what did I use for that? Not resident. Not room. Shitsu is room. Reside, maybe? Alright, we're just gonna go off mole here. Wait. Oh, is that whole thing something? It probably. Oh, what is that? Oh no. Roof. They went with roof. You're getting started on the art coursework essay. You're told to quote and link sources as well as make it somewhat academic with 3,003.5 words. Is there a proper way to link sources, etc.? APA. That should be a standard. Or, oh, sorry, not APA, that's American. There is a formal way to link sources, which pretty much has eroded and disappeared from your generation, more or less. Especially generations on NetSpeak. I don't think I've seen proper citations from online sources for a very long time. And this is different from people who publish something and then it gets online. So you can probably read any type of... I would look up formal citations or bibliography if you're interested. I don't think that's what your teacher is asking, but it's called a bibliography. Or I guess citations. Citations go in bibliographies. So I don't actually know what the English standard is. I'm guessing it's Oxford, Cambridge. In the United States, it's the APA. And then there's also the Chicago format. In high school, we have to learn how to cite things. So that should be a standard practice. And then later down the road in university, uni and stuff, still have to learn how to do APA or Chicago format. I don't know if in the UK what the formal standard is for citations. It is also how I read citations. The word bibliography was mentioned. May look into it. You've never had to learn how to cite things. Yeah, I'm not surprised. Now hear me out. You don't have to learn... Okay, this is gonna stink. I don't like mentioning this, but you don't have to do it manually. There are automation tools, and I'm not even sure if your browser might actually even have it by default. There might be a create citation tool. Basically, it'll use the format for citing maybe the web page. It'll pump out a web page citation. I don't actually know how a body of work is cited. So like when you're citing someone as opposed to some published work, because I would probably default to a web page citation, largely where the work was posted. However, now it's been a really long time since I've done citation work. I don't actually know how people cite someone's work that is posted to a web page that maybe they own. However, whenever you scroll down to someone's website and has like a copyright thing or something like that, that's typically where the citation goes. So I would probably go to the official, whatever it is. Honestly, I'm not even sure how to cite social media. That's an interesting, like, cite an Instagram post or something like that. That's how old it's been. Like for myself, I only know how to cite published things. And technically nowadays, things like Instagram, Facebook, right, X, and all the other stuff like Twitter and all that stuff, they technically are publishing. Like YouTube is a publication. Like YouTube, you publish videos, so it'll be interesting. We can talk about that this weekend. You can teach me about how citation works in the post-internet world. For my record, I deliberately, whenever I read something and there's a claim that's being made, I scroll down to look for citations, and usually they're not there. So I would say whenever I look at a site or like a news outlet or something that's reporting something, if there's no citations, I refer to them as non-professional sources. That's usually how I take it. And my grain of salt, that's when I break out my grain of salt and dash salt all over the information. That's why in YouTube videos, maybe now there's a citation, like the APA and the other organizations created a new way to cite like attributions and whatnot. So YouTube has, you know, kind of standardized certain types of attributions and how attributions is displayed. Maybe it has something to now APA and like other formats have something to format how attributions are made, like off of the attribution information. And generally speaking, though, citations do not exist in general, and bibliography do not exist. Oftentimes, the most you can have is a hyperlink. Like, that's as close as it gets to a citation nowadays. And those links are not cited. There's a difference between citing a link and posting a link. If you post a link, that is not a citation. Because why is there a purpose for a citation to your link? Is because what happens when the link is broken or retracted or modified or dated or ownership transfers, right? All of these things mean that without a citation, you don't know when, where, and how your information was acquired from the original link. So that's why I most definitely dislike when people do not update their information, because they don't have proper citations. Since they don't have proper citations, I can't tell if they either updated it or not updated it. And if you do not cite, you know, if you have no citations, for me personally, it would mean that they were expected to update their information. But typically that doesn't happen either. Like, I would be reading an article about like Duolingo or something, and it would be like, it would be updated with like a watermark that says like 2026. It's just because that person accessed the website and it says it got updated. The last time it was updated was 2026, when that article was written in like 2018. And then so you're reading, it's like, oh, that's interesting, and you get to the end, it's like, wait a minute, what year was this written? And at the bottom it would say 2026 because they, I don't know, added like a comment or something, and the body of the text wasn't updated. So then you look and you have to dig to find out that their original links and their pictures and stuff were outdated by nearly a decade. And that's the internet right now, in my opinion. Despite all the automation and all the conveniences, heavily non-professional work, which is fine. Like, people don't have to be professionals. For myself, when I'm relying on specific data and I'm going to publish something, like if I am to publish something, all of my works must be, in my opinion, published works. So like, that's something we didn't talk about, where like, Mika, if you go and just Google something and then you look at it and it's like, oh, okay, I was inspired off this, and then, you know, the professor asks you, or the teacher asks you, like, so where's this guy's work? Like, can I find it? And then if you don't have proper citations, then whatever work you have, there's no way to tell that you copied, plagiarized. There's no accountability for anything you've created. So in the world of YouTube and content creation, I would say, not that I'm there, is illegal or anything like that, or plagiarism or something, it's very difficult to determine if someone did plagiarize or use AI slop or things like that. It's very difficult. So that's where the legalities and stuff comes in. Like when you publish something and you're commercializing it, right? You are trying to, or you're trying to advance your career or something like that. All of it would take account. You would have accountability for all the things. And in my opinion, I would say over 90%, maybe that's a little high, maybe over 70% of content creation has no professional accountability whatsoever. So anyone can like argue and bicker and debate on the ownership of their IP, because quite literally the majority of people do not have citations or record keeping of ownership or proof in some way to defend the ownership of their original creation or publications. You can't ask the rest of this week how to. All 4 of the art classes are Monday through Wednesday, but so far you just linked all websites that have material you mentioned at the bottom of the section. Yeah, that's about as far as the world of internet goes. Now, one of the things is that you probably won't ever be able to figure this out in time, is that oftentimes a citation, one of the most important citations, is when you access the links. Because if the link disappears, or it's no longer in the same state as it was, when you access a particular thing, you must know when, where, who, and how. And based on the citation format, it will tell you how, like, what type of thing it was. And the reason for this is because if you only accessed it like 30 days ago and suddenly this person ended up changing it, it was changed in those 30 days. If someone like, we're not talking about school, you can argue, lots of people argue, well, it doesn't matter, it's not a big deal in school. Like, well, things don't have to matter to understand why they're important, because in the future, when you're on a job and you're like, oh, now it's time to learn how to do it, but you already got in the habit of just linking something, then your professional career would get lost because of that habit. And that's one of those big things. Like, it takes a really long it doesn't take a long time. It's a habit that must be formed when you're looking. And then obviously now you were asked, what about AI stuff? That's the problem right now. One of the underlying problems of AI stuff is, despite them providing citations, the information that the AI is construing, right, like using, is what the user is using. It's not quite using the citation it is. So despite when a user says, oh yeah, I have the citation, AI is being accountable for a citation, it's like, but the information, the interpretation you're looking at is the AI's interpretation. You did not go to the citation and read that. So then this creates a general moral area where whenever you can tell the difference between someone who spent most of their time vibing off AI slop and AI generalizations, and then saying, oh yeah, I know where the article comes from. And then when someone describes the AI stuff that they learned and you go to the original citation, it sounds nothing like the citation. That's how you know when this user is incompetent. And not incompetent in the sense that they can't get anything done, incompetent that they don't understand that the original source is not going to be reflected in Like, it might be generalized in the AI summary, but it's not going to be an interpretation of that you made of the citation. That's kind of one of those things too. And for art class, it's like using, for example, it's like using AI slop for your artwork, right? It's not AI slop, in my opinion, if there was an encouragement to use and follow up with the citations, right? That, like, if you're following up with it, seeing how AI interpreted the stuff, like, oh, here's an example of an image with this type of thing, and this is inspired off of these 3 notable posts or something, right? And because you can look at their original post, you can connect the dots between how AI generated an image versus all the artists that they used, because they would be responsible for citing all of these, which they don't. AI does not. And when I often enter like a debate or a conversation, people would argue about credibility, right? Credibility and accountability, and like this credibility and accountability would be in the interest of anyone who is publishing. But I would say more than 50% of like AI users only care about results and function. Now here's the thing. If you want to become a professional, or like you start doing a professional, this is gonna, focusing on this will get you in trouble. Because you have zero accountability or credibility. And then when you publish your stuff, anyone who has published something and have credibility and accountability, they're free to attack you. They're free to attack your blatant disregard for credibility and accountability, which is practiced in high school and at the university level and the graduate level before you publish something like to the public. And this might sound like it's over, like, so other people like from China or other countries that might not have as a different policy on intellectual property and whatnot, they might not think it's a big deal. For myself, you know, I'm born and raised in the United States, and I believe in credibility and accountability. So whenever we talk about like codes and someone said, I made this code, where's your citation? Because without citation and bibliography, you can't claim you've made the code. You can just have easily stolen the code from someone, or like took the code and add a few things on top and then publish it and claim it as your own. And I'm gonna be real, that's probably what over half of people who believe they say they make something, did something, have no form of accountability. So for myself, it might sound cynical, but I don't really have any strong emotions about this. I feel like the reality is that people think they create things, but they really just plagiarize things, and there's no legal ramifications or trail to say they did or did not. So there's no way to actually say that. But my inclination is that they probably took a code or like API, freely used it, and presumed that they had they can be held accountable, or they understand what the accountability is, and then simply post it online and said, I made this. It's under fair use, right? Under fair use. In no way will I ever post a video like using Bunpro without stating that it is Bunpro and it's not a product of myself. So that's kind of one of those things. I am very a product of the ages that you just mentioned. I'm a product of making sure that whatever I say is accountable for people's IP. And most of the time, it's an inconvenience, in my opinion, for others, for especially young people. It's like, why do I have to do this? Why do I have to attribute this? Why do I have to mention this? Because in the long run, if you become a professional, then you can be held accountable for everything you possibly could have infringed upon. We'll exclude this to the United States, right? Because I can't really speak for other countries. Generally speaking, whenever someone complains about like, man, they took down my video on using a product that someone else used and I'm profiteering off of it. It's like, yeah, do you understand how entitled that is? Like, you took someone else's work and then you're constantly arguing for fair use. Fair enough. That's why the clause is there. However, when you're doing artwork and you're publishing those things, fair use ends up becoming a really tricky argument. Like, one person, you know, the common argument in content creation is that, oh yeah, I'm using the product. That's transformative. I'm like, I am very unsure about that. In fact, most of the videos I post, the reason why I try very hard to provide commentary and ramifications or deliberations or something that's transformative significantly is because I don't believe consuming a product personally. I find it I have reservations about consuming a product as a form of transformative IP, like intellectual property, which I don't think is no longer a thing. It's so widespread that I don't think it's a problem anymore. Nowadays, the closest thing you get is the title of the product, maybe the title of the video, possibly, and maybe the person's name. Sometimes it's even difficult to find the person's name or like their trail of professional referencing. Like, I try my best most of the time to address the people by their names so that they get proper credit, even if it's not written formally. Here's a deep cut hot take on citations. When I talk to people, right, over 50% of the people I talk to do not remember the name, when, the nature of the content, or the publication of what they say. They often just say, oh, research says this, or I think, or someone said. And yes, I do this too. However, I often excuse myself and try to do well because I should know these things. However, over 50% of people don't even bat an eyelash on this. Like, they would say like, oh yeah, I watched this cool movie. I don't even remember what the movie is, but I'm just gonna use the ideas in the movie and write about that. Like, yeah, I still don't know what the title of the movie is or who published it or who's in it. That's kind of the same thing. It's related. That's what the hot take is. If you have trouble remembering names, title of videos, and admittedly it is getting really difficult because there's a lot of spam, right, or overlap between people. So a citation, going back to the initial digression of this, a citation is unique enough that it is going to be identifiable and non-overlapping with everything. So when you say you're just going to post a link, right? You're hoping that link is unique enough and also captures what you actually saw. If you post a link and you didn't write the date or when you accessed it and how you accessed it, and then your teacher, like, say, eventually this artwork becomes like your publication swan song 20 years down the line, and you use this, you can't reference it because you wouldn't know the nature of it. So if you ever someone discovers you through this publication, I would be apprehensive to follow up because this person did not cite anything, right? So when you don't cite anything, I can't a professional cannot trust another professional if they don't cite anything. And posting a random link is not sufficient, in my opinion. Back in the day, websites still exist, like website resources still exist, but I grew up in a time where the websites like the internet was not a viable, dominant, primary source of information. And nowadays, it goes to show you that the internet, because of the inundation of information, has not standardized their information. People are not held accountable to standardize their information. So they would say something and I would read it, and my first thought is, I have no idea where they're getting these ideas from. Is it like, did they spawn it from themselves or not? Because whenever I click on something and I'm reading this, it's like, oh yeah, research shows that 9 out of 10 things do this. Research shows that SRS is an effective method for language learning. And my first thought is, oh, okay. And then they're like, and someone would say, oh yeah, look up Stephen Krashen's work. And my first thought is, what does Stephen Krashen have to do with SRS? And then immersion is like, immersion has been proven to be effective according to who? And they meant to say according to them, because they list testimonies and stuff, and I'm like, this isn't professional publishing or citation. You could make up all of this information and put it on your website, and that's fine. Like that's what to me, that's one of the biggest drawbacks to not having citations. There's no credibility. So when you read someone's claim, you watch someone's YouTube video, like even me right now, I have no citations for whatever I'm saying. Like the stuff that I'm saying right now, 9 out of 10, greater than 50%, they're my personal anecdotes. They're my personal experiences. But I'm also not selling you something. I'm also not selling you my advice. I'm not guaranteeing results, telling you that I have a methodology that you're supposed to pay me for or recognize me as a professional. If and when I do that, though, a really large effort, in my opinion, goes to maintaining a proper bibliography of how I came to publish something. I don't expect, in my opinion, that from the vast majority of people, because their first products, or most of their products that they're gonna do, are amateur products, and not in a bad way. It's simply they don't meet the criteria for professional publication. And that's when you start thinking about companies and whatnot. Like, the moment you enter professionalism is when someone recognizes that all of this stuff is necessary in order to properly have accountability and credibility. It's not most of the time. I would say I've rarely ever talked to someone on a professional level when it comes to publishing something. It's someone who says, oh, I made this and I'm getting paid for this and I'm doing this. It's like, that's probably freelance work, or like a side hustle, or someone else is taking accountability for you, like your boss. That's why CEOs and all the other stuff like PRs and publication companies exist, because in my opinion they are also take all the responsibility as well for the legalities of stuff. So like if you cheat and you plagiarize, or unintentionally, right, unintentionally cheat, plagiarize, or poach, or take other things, the first people to absorb it would be the people who employ you. And for myself, talking to kids and talking to university students, they have zero accountability. Like, it's far less than it was before. Largely because nowadays when someone tells me, oh hey, could you check my essay and like, you know, opening letter or something, and then I read it and I'm like, why does this sound like you have 3 or 4 different people speaking for you? Like, there's no coherence in your publication. It sounds like you magically are like 4 different people. Your tone keeps shifting. And then I would ask them, so where did you get these ideas? And they'd be like, oh, you know, I looked online. And my first thought is, okay, like, your writing is a mess. And it's not because it's not good, it's a mess, as in it has like 4 different things that are good on their own or decent on their own, but it kind of reads like a Frankenstein. And then I asked them, can you make this more coherent and, you know, gel the thing together? And then the first thing they would ask is, how would I do that? Like, well, go look at your resources, go look at your sources. No, like, well, I don't remember what my sources is. Like, I think I accessed this part of this person's website one day, and then I accessed this part one day, and so I guess I can look back through all of it. That's where citations come in for the person, because you can't communicate to another person what that is. I think writing things and producing things are light years like a can of worms. Whenever someone like shows me an essay that they write, like, yeah, I wrote this review, right? I wrote this review for a video game. Like, I'm a like, you read a curator, right? There's plenty of curators on Steam, self-proclaimed curators, and they would say, yeah, this is my hobby. I like writing reviews or exposés or analyses of a video game, and then post them. And I would be reading it, and my first thought is like, why does this sound so familiar in this section to something else I've written, and this like I've read, and this section seems awfully suspicious, and the formatting is very interestingly analogous to something else. But when I'm reading it, there's no way to know, like, without a shred of a doubt, that person either took someone else's idea and iterated on it without any form of citation, or that they are telling me this is their idea and they cited themselves. Like, they published it, they copyrighted it. They're holding accountability that if it looks familiar to something else, I could defer to them. So like when I write something, right? If I write something and I cite their information, then I am accountable to decide if their publication is accountable for their things, which sucks, because then you have the research says cite another research says, which cites another research, and then when you follow down that line, you never find, like, I rarely ever find the original publication. It gets lost in it. Happens all the time. And then you might be thinking, like, so what's the point? What's the point of saying all this? There are still people who cite things and provide proper bibliography. And they are the only sources now. Those are the sources that still exist. If those people stop doing that, you know, when they get old or they retire or something, then the current generation is incapable, at least in my opinion, at the moment, incapable of keeping track of where the ideas come from. Yesterday, Procol asked about things like what was inspired, what came first, what came after. Well, you can't know any of those things without citation. You really can't, especially when you're publishing something. Anyways, that's an interesting topic. I have my suspicions most of the time when someone tells me they made this, and I would tell them, I've seen a lot of things, and this looks awfully suspicious to something else. Can you provide a proper citation and evidence to demonstrate that you created it? It can be transformative, it can be iterative, but you need citations to show that. You need citations to show that you iterated or innovated. You even need citations to show that it's a fair use, right? Like the original source is what you are using fair use for. Some people, or actually in my opinion, I think more than 50% of people say, well, isn't it obvious what I'm using? You still have to cite it. I think that's one of the high school comebacks all the time. It's like, well, isn't it obvious that I'm playing Minecraft? You still have to cite it. Because we're talking about in the future. Like in the far future, or when you're accountable for these things, you might not know, it might not be obvious anymore that it's Minecraft in 2017 version 2.6 when you accessed it on this date. And if you ever come back to it and say, oh, this is where my career started, like, well, it's not where your career started. It wasn't cited. You have no idea what the nature of it. The things you might have is when the video was posted. Like, okay, well, that puts you in somewhere. Everything else, the stuff that you took or used and stuff, you can't defend any of that stuff because you didn't cite any of them. That's the scary thing that I often think about. If you're publishing something, you use proper citations, because when you publish it, you will be held accountable at some point. So if you're like if it catapults you to stardom and stuff, all of that stuff that you published, someone can get at you for it. At least in my opinion. It works both ways, right? Just threw in some pros and cons. Anyways, moving right along. And you can still say right now in high school, it's not a big deal. Obviously, take it with a grain of salt. You want to learn, at least in my opinion, if you're gonna decide, if you're going to decide that you're going to become a professional, publish something, it's a skill, in my opinion, to have. And it's both functional when you're looking at other people's work and your own work, or even your past work. This sounds crazy a lot of times, but you can plagiarize yourself. There's a very particular and fairly common occurrence which happens, in my opinion. I'm surprised like people don't get, like, it doesn't occur more often with YouTube videos and whatnot, probably because legalities are difficult. Or hear me out, it might sound very negative. However, maybe if everyone didn't care about citations, then I suppose then you would be on a level playing field, right? So what does that leave you? Why would you want to learn how to cite things and record things properly and record keep? It's because you, in my opinion, as a human being, would have an edge in the future. when someone says, oh yeah, I did this and I did this, you basically stole my stuff. Where's your citations, bro? And you would be able to defend it and say, well, I accessed these information at this time. Can you defend or contradict or argue against my citation record keeping? So you probably can't. And that's usually where, whenever someone says, well, you know, greedy corporations and people like in companies and stuff have all of these like gated, like heavy gated practices that allow them to claim intellectual property or claim things. Like, well, yes, because you didn't do it. Perhaps you should at least include dates with the links for now. Yeah, I would probably include dates. For school projects, Mika, for school projects, if a school project is like greater than like a month, I usually include the date. Because the reason why I chose month is because it's on the internet. If it was a book, like for example, if it's something like a book, like a couple years, like 1 or 2 years, if it's like a magazine or quote, I'm gonna call it an article. If it's an article, I would not go past half a year. Like if it's a half a year old, I would record the year that it was published, because articles can be redacted, they can be added, they can be edited. If it was like a site, for example, off the internet, less than a month. Anything that's greater than a month, you want to write the date because it can be modified within the month. Usually websites get updated, modified in some way after a month. If it's an internet post, the nice thing is there are timestamps. Right, there are timestamps. That's always a nice thing. And in books, like books remove, like textbooks and stuff have additions, and typically they don't happen as often. So maybe a yearly edition or a bi-yearly edition, or like every once in a while edition. It's up to 8 months longer, and you believe an exam board marks it. Oh, okay. Yeah. 8 months is a very long time for the internet, I would say. And again, I'm talking about the principle, like the concepts of citation. It's probably automated. Like you can find a plugin. It's fine to use plugins and whatnot when you understand the concept of it. I used a note keeper thing. So like it was things like Evernote. Evernote, what happens is when you poll a site or when you poll a page, they would also present you with a citation. Or if I poll a document or like a PDF, it can format. Like there are automations for this. So you don't have to literally go and try to keep track of all the citations and whatnot. You can find a way to use a plugin or something to extract the information so that you can go back and refer to them. It has become far more useful later down the road when you have too many references, like too many sources, and you want to categorize them and arrange them. So to show like, oh, this idea came from these 7 sources. This idea came from these 7 sources, and the ideas that in this column does not overlap with ideas in this column. So that means you have a very robust bibliography. Whenever you have to publish something, if all of your information, if you end up finding out when you type and do all that stuff, and then the citations are filled in, you realize, oh, all of your stuff comes from like one source, then that's that is a red flag. That's kind of like confirmation bias at its worst. When you tell someone and you write something and give it to your boss, and everything is based on one source, or everything is based on one person's collective work that came from multiple sources pointing to a singular source. That's also a problem, because that means that all your information is only as reliable as the one original source. So everything else is, if that one source is like not correct, then everything you have written is invalidated, or it creates a pressure, like a skepticism for everything you have written based on that. And oftentimes citations can help you think of that. Like sometimes you might not realize it, but when you look at your citations, when you're citing something, there's one function of citing. Oftentimes citation is next to when the thing is used. So like when you write an essay, for example, right? I don't think you have done this yet, since you haven't done a bibliography. When you write an essay, a typical essay, and you're publishing it, or you're submitting it for work, you will write a sentence, right? You will write a paragraph, and there will be a citation. The reason for that is the person reading it will be able to know where it came from, but you will also know where it came from. So if your essay is like the first 2,000 words, and you realize all of it came from like one citation, then your essay sucks. Like, I know it's like, well, there's no guarantee that it sucks. It's like, it is more likely to suck than when you write an essay and someone had 15 citations. The odds of someone having a robust essay that's based on more resources and put together, it implies that the odds went up, that the person, obviously there's ways to trick people, like, you know, high school kids. I've read enough essays to know what high school kids do. I was a high school kid once, right? At university. Sometimes they just pump the number of citations, you know. However, if it's a very important paper, I would probably go to the citations and see, okay, are these real sources? Because there are kids where they would write their 3,000 word essay and it would all be based on one source. And then they decided, oh, I'm just going to go look up 14 website pages and then cite them, even though all 14 pages are just fluff. There's nothing that's coming from them. And also, these 14 pages are related to the one source. And they get an F. The kid gets an F because they basically did zero research. They based everything on one resource, and they try to get a fast one by creating 14 citations that aren't even cited in their work. And how do you do this? When you write an essay and you're trying to summarize someone's idea, you have a citation. So just like how easy it was for the student to do this automatically, the teacher also has automatic processes that will investigate this citation and figure out if what is said here, it relates to this citation. So when you write a 3K response paper, it will have a bunch of citations everywhere, you know, like 30 citations or something like that. And you can do this automatically, but you are held accountable for your words. When you summarize something and you put a citation, a teacher can also use an automated tool to look if the citation is related to the words you're saying. Because that has happened way too often, where someone basically writes something really cool and it's not even about plagiarism. They would write something and they would simply cite something. And then you go to the site and it's like, this has nothing to do with what this person is saying. because they're just filling their citation requirements. So this stuff is both useful for the person and the person reading it. And so when you read a professional document, like a professional document, in my opinion, more than 50% fail. So when you're online, you're reading like someone's opinion piece on Elden Ring, there's nothing to make it sound like it's nothing more than an opinion piece. So an op-ed. So op-eds are fine, like, or commentary, right? I think it's incredibly disrespectful and insulting when someone comes up to me and say, oh, I'm a professional writer, and then they link their work to me, and it's an opinion piece with a lack of citations. Because you have no accountability. You're not a professional if you don't hold yourself accountable. And then you're gonna say, well, why do you need to cite things? Because when you have an opinion piece as a professional, anyone can disagree with you. You have no accountability. Whatever you say can be disagreeable because you have no strength behind it. Your opinion is your opinion. You have the right to your opinion. That also means anyone can deflate and invalidate your opinion. Now, on the online though, most people work by popularity. And that's where it gets tricky. What is the substitute for citation nowadays? And quality, right? Citation is to evoke the quality. How can you circumvent quality? Popularity. So when you release an opinion piece and it gets like 100,000 upvotes, that is supposed to indicate quality. That doesn't indicate quality. It indicates quantity. That's the whole point of popularity. So that doesn't tell you the quality. So quantity does contribute to reliability. So does quality. But it doesn't tell you the quality of the information if it's based on popularity. Like 1 million people believes this person, what they say is true, that's fine. You have no idea whether this person's truth is based on quality cited evidence. It's based on popularity. The ideal way is to have both. However, this is way more predominant. For advice, recommendation, this is your guru territory, and this is your expert territory. Those are the two different words, right? Guru and expert. And they both serve their purpose. The thing is, I find it very inappropriate when, say, a guru goes around and say, why don't you guys agree with me? What I'm saying is true. It's true for millions of people. It's like, well, no, that's not how that works. You have no citation, you have no credibility, you have no professionalism, you have no accountability for your evidence. So what you say is a popularist comment. It is not backed by a group of your peers. Like, you are not corroborated by a group of your peers. How can you determine what you say is great if you don't have both? So oftentimes when someone is popular and also well cited by their peers, that's university. That's what graduate studies and university is supposed to teach you. That it's a combination of the two. You can be popular and you can also be well cited, because that would mean that experts, other experts like your competition and your audience both agree that what you say is both high quality and likely factual and popular at the same time. I would say though, online, more than 50% of people who believe their credibility is based on this. They do not scrutinize. This is not feedback. This is response. This, citing things and allowing yourself to be scrutinized and criticized and interact with your colleagues, the people you are competing with, like say a content creator who works on art, who also is criticized by other content creators who do exactly what they do or in a field, a discipline that is similar to them, and they interact with each other and criticize each other publicly and professionally. Then that is called feedback. And this is the word that you've used before, Mika, when you say, what are your thoughts? I would like feedback on my work, right? I often can't technically, so it works both ways. I technically can't give you feedback because I don't know how to do those things. I can give you my response, as in what I think about it, my opinions about it, what I think could be good and whatnot. But truly, the word feedback, in my opinion, like in Japanese, taking account for specific words, feedback involves expertise, shared expertise. Response is, or reaction, is simply an end user consuming, which goes back to video games. A lot of times video games, using Bunpro, for example, using Bunpro and then leaving a star rating, that is a reaction. It's a reaction and a response, not feedback. So, you know, people survey for responses and reactions. They occasionally get feedback from someone who is as professional as possible or as experienced as possible. So it's not like it's zeros and ones. It's a number line, right? It's a number line. You can be more feedback than is reactions, but generally speaking, feedback involves actually talking about the thing. So like asking another game developer for their feedback on the game you're developing in response to your audience's criticisms, right? Because the audience is typically criticizing you. They are not providing constructive feedback. It's rarely ever constructive feedback, like in a meaningful way. It may be like, if it's a 0 to 1, I would say an end user can be anywhere less than 50% feedback. Usually they're offering a response. I don't know how I got there on that way, but citations give you that. So if you ever want to be credible, quote unquote credible and accountable, you learn how to cite and take very much diligence. You do your due diligence on having accountability. Much in the future though, obviously you haven't even decided if you're going to become an artist or do something related to artwork. It is going to be, in my opinion, something that will inevitably be in your future if you're going to publish something or make something or sell something. Otherwise, working for someone is the way to go about it, because then you don't have to worry about dealing with that stuff, which I think is pretty accurate. So this skill isn't really necessary if you're working for someone, unless you really want to become a scholar or something like that, which deals with professional writing. Most people that I've encountered nowadays, when they talk about professional writing, they simply talk about whatever they published online. And it's not it's not any lesser. I think it's more like being understanding that there's an appropriateness when you consider the realm of professional writing and formal writing is a skill that most people don't use anymore, or whatever they're doing, they don't typically use it. This is definitely one of them. Bibliographies are definitely one of them. It's so rampant. I would be very surprised if I read an essay with proper citations. Like, it's like, oh, here's my review of Celeste or something, and they would have like markers, and it's like, oh, okay, according to the developer in this interview citation, they mentioned that their intent of this video game at this section was this. Citation, I contend that I have a different opinion about this. That would be like a way to write it. You would cite where your impressions you got from the developer, and then how you disagree with what the developer end up doing. That would be a professionally written review, because oftentimes when someone says, I think the developer intended to do this, well, that's a guess. It's an opinion. However, if they do digging and say, oh yeah, the developer once said in an interview, this was their intent for the game, citation, when they said it, where they said it, and then you use it to refute it. Like, you're like, well, I disagree based on what they mentioned in this interview, that my impressions are contradictory to that. And then there would be a citation, right? They would be reacting to a citation. That means that they know something about the developer. They did research. It's different from saying, I think this is what is true. That's zero research. Like, because I don't know. Like, if you're telling someone else without a citation, you don't know if you did research. You can trust the person if you want. That's up to you, right? And then when you trust the person, everything you say when you're referring to that person, it's also your fault. So when someone tells me, oh yeah, Duolingo doesn't teach language, or it doesn't teach you anything about language, and then I ask them, okay, what gives you the impression that Duolingo doesn't teach anything about language? And they're like, oh yeah, all my friends and these 100,000s of people and this like 20 influencers. Okay, can you cite them for me? Right? Can you cite them for me? And then explain how that comment comes about. And they're like, nah, it's not worth my time. It's like, then you have zero credibility. I will take zero belief from you. It's more of a trust me bro situation. I don't trust people who don't hold each other accountable for the information they provide. You can tell me how you feel about Duolingo. That's perfectly fine. You're entitled to your feelings, and I will try my best to be empathetic. Professionally, I would not take any advice from someone who barely can even take account of all the things they are referring to, because if the source they have, then there's no accountability. Oh, there's sub. Genki desu. How are you? How are you doing today, sub? I challenge, like, Mika, I challenge you and other people, like the people just ask everyone around. Whenever someone tells you something that they know, ask them, hey, where did you get this idea? Or like, when you say you saw something, can you show me? And if they can't, that's a way to tell how reliable, like, that's one way, not the only way, but that's some of the ways you can tell if someone is accountable or not. These behaviors are very, very noticeable. Like the last time, like for example, when you asked me yesterday, right, when we were talking about lighting, right, and you're asking, okay, so what type of thing that of the lighting you have, and then I'm like posting, here's a reference, this movie, this artist's name, and then you ask me, do you just like have them available to you? And that's kind of what I mean. The reason why I can pull them up so quickly is because I keep track of the people. So like this artist, oh, it's this artist, and here are exactly the pieces that I want, so I can Google them, but I also know who they are. I know their body of work, so immediately I would be able to pull them up. And then if I don't remember them really well, I would record them, categorize them, so in the future when someone asks me, hey, what type of artist do you like? Oh, okay, I like this artist, this is the title, and then here are the 4 shots that I think in this title that is useful for my point of view. Or like when we were talking about fighting games, immediately I was thinking, okay, dance poses, fighting martial arts poses, this would be the character IP that I'm looking at. That's how you can tell when someone is more reliable. It's because they keep track of what they say and what they do, at least in my opinion. And it takes time. It definitely takes time. I'm early today? Yeah, I'm early today. You're good? That's good. Good to hear. Good to hear. Are you... You're going to bed soon, right? Sub? Alright, let's continue our lessons here. I actually do plan on ending a bit early today as well. Okay. If you're ever wondering, Mika, how I start to trust people, like what I mean is trust people not in the sense of trusting them like about their feelings and their opinions and if they're being genuine. I mean trusting people professionally, like that. Those are different things, right? Like, do I want to work with someone? That's different than being friends with someone and whatnot. That's a different story. Like, you can be friends, you can like people and trust people in an emotional way, but when it comes to professional trust, there are very few that I've encountered online. I think most of the people that I trust professionally are people who have worked professionally. And no, they do not tend to spend time in a non-professional space very often. And the stuff that you think about don't usually show up here. Like, how can you tell a professional from an amateur? You probably can't, because you can't see that. There's no place that would show that. Like, I'm not publishing anything, so you wouldn't know if I'm a professional or not, because I actually even say this when someone asks me, oh, what do you do for work? I don't work professionally in any capacity. I do unofficial work, like freelancing work, as in, don't take this as official advice, you know, like professional advice, because I do not sell anything. Most of this stuff is freelance or pro bono. So that is that could be an indicator of someone who segregates those two things. Yeah, it's 11:25 p.m. here, but you're working on your portfolio. You'll be awake. Oh, how's the portfolio thing going? Oh, by the way, how was I actually mispronounced the name of the character, Kuroko. Yeah, Kuroko no Basket. Like, how was that show? Did you finish watching, or did you have time to watch more? A basketball show? I think that's also something that you mentioned last time. All right. 女子学生 Big hit? What? 大ヒット Oh, that type of big hit. 大ヒット So far so good, I see. Where are you at in the show at the moment? Wow. Escalator. Escalator.
Escalator.
Escalator. I'm gonna miss a syllable. I feel like I'm gonna miss the... there is a chance I would miss the su. 8 minutes. Happen. Guessing they're choosing it for the rendaku and the shortening. And then hita, as opposed to like stove. Oh, I think we have stobu. And do we have danbo? I'm not sure we have danbo. Oh yeah, you finished it. It was good. The ending was wholesome. All of it? Wow. Wait, I forgot how long Shoko no Basket is. I thought it was a fairly long show. 3 seasons and some films, I think. Although I think 2 of the films are summary films. I'm not sure if it had a major... That's quite a lot. It's time to watch Blue Lock. Blue... I don't know what they call it. Owl Lock. Blue Lock is a pretty good one in recent... I haven't seen it myself, but this was recent. I imagine you already watched Haikyuu. Haikyuu already, possibly. And then there was like an older one that's really nice about baseball called Cross Game that I really enjoy before. Cross Game. But Haikyuu is if you haven't seen that, pretty nice. It still has one more movie to go. But it's a TV show for 3 seasons, and then they have a movie trilogy. And I recently watched the second of the movie trilogy, I think. There's still one more movie. Oh, you watch Blue Lock? Okay. Blue Lock. It's good. Fair enough. Have you seen Haikyuu? Alright, let's go over this stuff. So, a traditional Japanese confection consisting of sweet bean paste enclosed in a soft dough. A traditional Japanese. I wonder if they're related or not. Like, mantou is also a thing. Anyways, manju. This is technically a new character, but we'll keep it in mind. Chinese. Of course you watched it. You haven't watched Haikyuu movies though? Yeah. I did kind of wanted to wait, but I watched it. And it's gonna be another like year and a half or something before like the last movie releases. It's kind of the same for Kimetsu no Yaiba as well, like Demon Slayer, where there is a movie that was released. I didn't watch it yet, but there's still one more movie after that. Like Kimetsu no Yaiba also decided to end their series with a trilogy of movies. It seems like that's kind of how long Shonen Jump like shows typically go. They go for a while, like 2 or 3 seasons, and then they decide to end the series with like a movie trilogy. You believe there may be 2 more left? Yeah, there's 2 more left. Yeah. For the Demon Slayer stuff. I believe this is only the first. The infinite room thing. Also, your art teacher mentioned wanting to see more of your personal work, but you can't show fan works. If you design character specific ideas though, you can make art of them. It is also possible to make a section of your coursework focus on character design. You could do artist studies related to them. All this to say getting into character design would be beneficial. Interesting. Do you know much about how to start character design? Probably yes and no. We'll have to discuss that another time. Yeah, previously taking a course on it, but you don't believe it was able to come up with concepts. Well, I see. You were unable to finish designs that convey what you're trying to, and none left a lasting impression. I'll give a long story short. So the TLDR, when I said yes or no, I haven't done an OC, so you have to take that into account. Yes, meaning conceptually, like I've consumed creative character design like video games, movies, books, and all of that for like almost my entire life. So if I were to say, if you ask me what would go into character design, it would be limitless. Like there's no shortage of how I would convey a character. It's kind of like asking someone to play Dungeons and Dragons, which I've never played Dungeons and Dragons. Again, no, I don't have direct experience. But if someone is to ask me to create a character for Dungeons and Dragons, give me an evening and I can probably type a 10,000 essay describing the character that I would be. Because I've consumed movies, right? Movies, books, video games. The whole point of my consumption of these things is to understand the author, the authors, or quote unquote the creators and directors. I wanted to be when I was younger, I wanted it to be a director of something, like a producer of something. And most of the time, all the things that I've learned, like how to design apps and stuff, they're conceptual by nature. No, I would say no, I wouldn't know how to do those things because I didn't literally do those things. So yes and no. If I wanted a character to be designed conceptually, I could probably talk to someone like an artist, and I would conceptually give them my character design and have them design it, like literally create it for me or provide feedback for me. So I can't. What you're trying to do is you're literally trying to create a character. So I can't comment on how to literally create a character. I can comment on what characters can do conceptually. Like, how do you convey a character that is apprehensive, right? Apprehensive, but also strong in spirit, but lacking in confidence, while appearing like having lots of responsibility. And how would you do that in a portrait, for example? Like, how would what kind of character would look like they are apprehensive, but they have a strong spirit, lacking confidence, and lots of responsibilities. How would you depict that with a character from the way they dress, you know, from what would show that? Like, what would the shirt look like? Like a character like this just having these qualities, what do you think they look like, or characteristically would look like? And since I spend a lot of time, I would use archetypes. It's very similar to what I do when I talk to people, you know, when I'm talking about learning strategies or problem solving. How do I help someone with their problems? I have to know all these things. Like, you have to observe, look, what is the propensity, basically like a profile, right? A profile. And then when it comes to character designs, your profile are how strong your fundamentals are. Like for example, it goes beyond saying like a sad character simply has a frowny face. A character doesn't have to frown to be sad. There are many layers. Like, you could make them frown. That would be surface level. Right? How can you show that a character has seen things? For example, seen things. That they're haggard. Disorganized. What are the characterizations? So I'm like, what makes a full character, for example? What is like the threshold? What is the threshold of layers that is required, like the minimum threshold, to make a character feel quote unquote real or like believable, versus like a character that's made to be a caricature? Like, what is your OC going to be like? A caricature? Or is it going to be like a humanistic take on it? What type of... Is your character in a sci-fi? Is your character in a drama? What is it exuding? So all these things, I got you. Or at least I think I have something to say about them. However, again, I have no experience. I didn't create anything. I haven't ever designed an OC. In fact, the biggest OC that I ever design are the stories that I tell. And the stories that I tell are everyone I know. Right? And including myself, obviously, including myself. So character design is a form of storytelling. You design your characters with their life, their backgrounds, their aptitudes. Anything that you've designed requires that you are cultured, in my opinion. You are cultured enough to express what you want to express, while at the same time conveying that to others, right? Both you and others. You can't do that when you're uncultured, right? And how do you get cultured? In artwork, it would be considered cultured. In science, it's considered research. Right? The neutral word would be research. To be more wise and experienced. That's usually why older people tend to, when someone becomes more and more experienced, it shows. It shows in their design and their character designs. So effectively, it's more like I'm older. So the chances are, we're talking about chances. It's not always true, but the chances are higher that I would have more ideas for an OC than you do. However, that doesn't mean you don't have enough ideas. Typically, most people have enough ideas. If they don't have enough ideas, then they get research. You do your research. Like, for example, a character that is bald, you know, like no hair. You drew a character that has no hair. What does that express to the people? And then how can you affect the way a bald character is portrayed? Like, for example, the main character, One Punch Man. Versus, like, a monk in Journey to the West. Like a Buddhist monk in Journey to the West. It's a very specific Buddhist monk, right? How are they conveyed differently? That kind of thing. Like one thing is, if you look at the character. Oh, here's a fun little thing about character design. What does the character sound like? Because voice actors, or like voice actors or actors in general, if you give them like a picture, right, they would able to give you a voice. And what's interesting about this exercise is, since a voice actor has done so many roles, you can tell how accurate they are. Because they could play a game where they never seen this character before, so they are shown a picture of a character, right? And they would do a voice for it, and then they would listen. They would listen to the source, and it would be about 90% there. The reason why is character designs. One part of character design is also the voice. That's also what they wear, right? If you look at the character from One Punch Man, Saitama, right? Saitama in One Punch Man. If you look at them, what does his uniform tell you? And it's very deliberate. I'm choosing an example that has a very deliberate use of his character design, because his face is practically like this. That's Saitama. Hang on, let me draw a very shiny. This is his face most of the time. That's what he looks like. That's a rough depiction of his face. Maybe we'll add. Anyways, so yes and no. Yes and no. Alright. Let's complete this. Okay, Manju is okay. Traditional Japanese dance performed during the Bon Festival, a Buddhist event honoring ancestors, or Bon Festival. So that's Bonodori. Bonodori is fine. A combination of colors often used to describe monochromatic or grayscale images. Combination of colors. Oh, okay, I see. Monochromatic. That's certainly one way to describe it. Okay. Beliefs? Actually, let me make sure. Yeah, Japanese has a different character. Or a modified character. Beliefs or a simplified character. Beliefs or practices based on supernatural or irrational ideas. Okay. Yeah. Right. We're using like mystery or misguided, and then belief. Makes sense. You'll leave it to it. Yeah. Take care. Take care, Mika. We can talk. We can brainstorm about characters and whatnot. It'll be interesting. Like the nun thing. If you're not already to leave you with your thing, right? Character design. You remember when we were talking about like redheaded characters, or the nun with the regal blue and white? If you're noticing these patterns as you're looking and consuming video games, like NTE for example, if you go to NTE and look at all their banners, every single one of those characters are incredibly stereotypical and archetypical. Typically a roster, for example, a fighting game roster, we were talking about fighting game rosters, the foundational basic cast, like the first set of casts, they check a lot of boxes. They have fundamentals. So all those character designs, in my opinion, if you're interested in character design and you're looking at how to establish foundations for character design, all of those patterns should be obvious. Or when you're watching a movie, there's often a core set of characters that have expectations and like conveyance of convention. So I mean, it goes beyond something like a moe character, a yandere, like, right, a tsundere and stuff for anime situations. Those are all, in my opinion, involved in character design. Okay, a unit of measurement used to quantify distance in groups of 100 centimeters. Release roster box checking. Hard not to notice it now. Yeah. Like, video games, gacha games, really wonderful way. Any launch title roster for like a character driven game, like a character roster game, plenty of those. Any anime montage, like season one of any band of shonen characters in a show, they all have rosters. It's a great way to form the foundations. And you know what about foundations, right? Like artwork. You can't break rules. Like, it's hard to break rules effectively without knowing your foundations first. So you start with understanding the body of work that exists, and then you can choose to stylize and violate them when you know what the body of work is. So how do you know if your work is stylized when you don't know what the foundations are, right? You can't say, oh, I just chose to have longer legs relative to what, right? There's no foundations yet. Like, oh, I just chose to make my eyes bigger, but you don't know what the foundational eyes are. You chose to make your head bigger. Your character's head bigger is like relative to what? Citations. Foundations are cited as well, you know, citations. So to take it back to the whole citation thing, citation is also foundational. Like, oh, this is the easiest way to learn Japanese relative to what? When you learned English? That's where I get a little hairy on it, when someone says like, oh yeah, I'm basically trying to learn like I used to learn language. Okay, so how does that work? By ignoring everything that I used to work on, like English. And I'm like, okay, but that's like that's contradictory. You just said you're gonna ignore everything about English in order to learn a new language so that it's like the first time. I'm like, okay, well, but the first time, to know about how you learn the first time, is to take English into account. Same deal. How do you know the difference between a language by ignoring the relative? You don't. You really don't. So whenever someone says, oh yeah, you know, Japanese doesn't have this in English, and I'm like, yeah, and Japanese has a lot of things English has. What's your point? My point I'm making is you only focus on the things that doesn't exist in English that exist in Japanese. But you can't compare, you can't contrast and contrast. You have to compare and contrast. You can't appreciate things without a foundation of something else. So those all or none things, that's probably how they do art too, where it's like, oh, it's no problem. I don't need foundations. I don't need a point of reference or relatives. I can convey things as well as anyone else without knowing how anyone else conveys things. So like, hey, I drew my character with red hair, and then I don't get it. Why does everyone keep thinking my red-haired character is like going to be aggressive or be some sort of aggressiveness or spontaneity or high energy? It's like, I want it to be low energy and stuff. That's the whole point. I'm like conveying that. Like, well, you have to understand that convention would suggest that a character with red hair is higher in energy. That's not to say that you can't play on that, like riff on the convention. But if you don't understand the convention, then how do you riff on a convention? Like subvert expectations, for example, where, oh, here's a timid character, but they're good at everything. Typically, timid characters are not good at everything. They're too timid to be good at most things. However, they could be very selectively good at that one thing because they're timid everywhere else, but confident on that one thing. So those are foundations. Meanwhile, you know, somebody is gonna come around and say, well, there's a timid character who's also superhero, who's also super selfish. And I'm like, what? How? Tell me how. Like, how do you convey? Because it would be interesting. That's assuming they understand that they're working uphill. Like, how can a character be selfless and selfish unconditionally at the same time? That would be impressive to convey. However, common convention would suggest if you're making a character that's unapologetically selfish, they're rarely ever unapologetically selfless. It would be an interesting challenge, though, to see how someone would go about that. How can a character be like a paradox, basically? I have an idea, by the way, if you're curious, a bipolar character. Right? And it's been done. I'm not like pulling this out of my butt. There are shows that use a bipolar character. It flips between a personality that is altruistic and evil and selfish, pathologically, like sociological, you know, sociopathic, bipolar character. That's possible. So it still is considered as one character, but the character has polar opposite personalities. You can probably think about fighting games and stuff too. There are particular games that where you like flip between styles and mechanics, and how does that flow in character design? Well, you can have the character appear white when it's one personality and it appears black, you know, a black motif in another personality. So that would be part of the OC design for a bipolar character that is both selfless at some points, truly unapologetically selfless, and then truly unapologetically selfish at the same time. Kind of an idea. Things like that. And someone has done it. I'm not like pulling this out, you know, it's inspired by various characters, which I have yet to cite. Unless I made a character. I didn't make such a character. Alright. Right. A large bear-like mammal. Bear-like mammal. Fair enough. Known for its distinctive black and white fur pattern, also its inability to survive in the wild. Okay. The cost or charge for a service or product. Yeah, no. The state of all available items being purchased by customer. Okay. So we're talking about the verb here, as opposed to the actual state. The actual state is not the same as like yeah, Tokyo Ghouls. Yeah, Tokyo Ghouls MC. Yep. I think for me, foundations isn't like the same thing as everyone agrees on. You can still, it's a great place to start, you know. Foundations is whatever is the most common convention. It doesn't necessarily have to be like true or objectively true. It's something that's readily available, and then you build upon that, or you subvert it. And you can definitely tell when a project comes out, like an amateur project, like someone's first video game, for example, someone's first video game, someone's first book, someone's first something. And you can tell the difference between someone who understands their foundation and built their first product on that, or someone who's simply just very passionate, but they didn't care about doing their research or doing anything else, and they simply put it out. Because in my opinion, the chances are the person who did the research has a higher rate of success. That doesn't mean the other person who's selfishly passionate wouldn't be successful. It's just that for every 100 of them, 90% of them will fail, because they have to be lucky. They have to be serendipitously lucky to convey something that a lot of significant amount of people can understand and what they're intending to do. So oftentimes when you see a project, which I had the privilege in the last couple years to see some people's first time projects ever, and I've never developed anything. So the only commentary that I can provide is all comparing it to all of the stuff that I've watched and played. And you can definitely tell when someone says, I just want to do this, I could care less about the foundations. You can still become successful that way. Your first product will be like 90% of the chance would be like, I have no idea what you're trying to convey. Like, for example, when someone makes a product for language learning, when you're trying to learn a language, and they would build a new app, right? And then they would post the app and they describe what the app does. And when you read the app and you look at the screenshots and the UI, your first thought is, this guy has never learned a language before. Versus a person who has learned a language, right? And their products, even if it's a first product, it's like night and day. You can definitely tell when someone is lacking foundations, and it's a passion project. And it's not a bad thing. It's a road. It's a process to getting to where you are. So if you're designing a character and someone has never designed a character before, where do you start? Some people could just be, oh, let's just make a character and then see what happens. Well, you're gonna have to make a lot of characters, because then you're going to get feedback from people. It's like, I don't understand why your character has a scar, and that scar has nothing to do with the character. Like, for example, you just draw a really scarred character like all over your face, and they're like an innocent little child. They behave like an innocent little child, and the person's like, is the scar just because you wanted to make a scarred character, or is there a reason behind those scars? Are they acting like innocent because they're trying to bury their trauma from a past their life with all the scars, right? That kind of thing. A passion project would be like, oh, I just want to draw a cool character, and then like you draw like a teacher, a professor, and that professor looks like a Lolita, you know. And what is the explanation? And why is this like 12-year-old considered a professor in this school? It's like, oh no, I just wanted to draw a professor who's like really cute and a little kid. And I don't understand. Like, the vast majority of people will say, will think that doesn't make any sense. Are they like secretly a demon that is 1,000 years old? That's a trope, by the way. Like, having someone like look very young, but they're typically like 1,000 years old. Like, they're a supernatural character. That's how you subvert conventions. So they want moe in their characters, but at the same time, they want their characters to function for a convention that is as important to their design, and that's fair. It's very different, and it comes out very differently when you don't understand who you're working with or what you're, you know, you can be passionate about all the things you want to create and tell. It's framed when you're publishing something or interacting with other people, it's framed by what other people think. So the weird ones are the ones where someone like passionately just do whatever and then the passion just shines through. Well, that's like a superstar. It's like once in a blue moon, someone can do whatever they want and then suddenly everyone will be on board, which is possible. And I think to me, when people say they're going to make their video game, right? They're going to become a game designer, a graphic artist, a video game, or like a artist. Nowadays, at least when people are younger, they skip the foundations. They skip empathy. They hope that what they do, like bring their self to the world, they are able to project well enough. That can happen if your life is cultured. So those who are very passionate, the ones that succeed that are very passionate and they like don't spend time researching others, their life is incredibly cultured. So the ones that you see that are really passionate and successful that rarely like involve other people or think about other people, their life has a very traumatic or relatable element to it. Like, it's not a coincidence that some of the greatest music in the world come from traumatic backstories, right? Very emotional backstories, because they're connected with their emotions, and that's serendipitous. That is coincidental. When you live a life of luxury and no one can relate to that, and you're like, I'm just going to become an artist and do whatever I want, no one can relate to that. The odds of being relatable even by luck is going to be non-existent. However, the artists that you often highlight online where like, oh, I just do whatever I want, when you ask them about their life and why, you know, you're wondering, why are they successful if they just do whatever they want and they just become popular? You ask them about their life and you eventually you're like, wow, that sounds like 60 or more % of people can relate to that. Like, yeah. And their music and artwork conveys that serendipitously, like by coincidence. When I'm talking about my story about my life, I understand that the stuff that I go through is relatable now to people in their teens and in their early 20s. But I know it's relatable, and therefore I tell my story. I could also be a teenager and start making music and art about my life, about racism and discrimination and all that stuff, and it would coincidentally be relatable to other people if I was passionate about it. That's another way to approach it. But if you're uncultured, right? If you just happen to be a very closed off person who live a life of like choices and your parents give you everything in the world and you chose not to do anything with it, then most of your work, if you're in a creative process, will not resonate with anyone. And the way to remediate that is to be interested in other people's lives. Be interested in other people's work, because you need to develop a foundation. The odds do not increase when you have a special life and also you want to share your special life with everyone. The odds of that succeeding is gonna be next to nothing, unless you're there is a rare, you know, these are all rare occasions. Like, for example, the life of a millionaire. If you just happen to be a multi-billionaire or something, and everyone's like, oh, I want a multi-billionaire life. What is it like? That still happens. But there's like 1 or 2 of those people. The odds are very low that's going to happen. And we're talking about odds here. That's kind of one of those things that the YouTube space and the Twitch space kind of warps. Like, can you be another one of those? It's like there's only 1 of them. 1 out of how many? Like 10 million. So you have to understand how cultured you are and what your life is like in respect, so you can present something. Like, honestly, if I made my first game, for example, my first game, or write my first book, it's going to be somewhat generic. Like, it's going to be an iteration of projecting me trying to subvert some foundations. So you grip the audience with foundations, and then you try to see and compare and contrast with your own life, the things that you're trying to convey. So usually it's a little bit of column A and column B. And I would say paying attention, if you want to be a creator, you pay attention to the creators. So it's shocking to me, or not really shocking, it's still disappointing. I think the word is disappointing. It's still disappointing to me how when you ask someone what they want to do and they say they want to be a creator, they want to be a leader, they want people to listen to them, they want to make their own decisions, and they spend most of their time not looking, interacting, and understanding creators, leaders, decision makers. They legitimately, in my opinion, a vast majority of them don't even bother thinking those are required skills or required ways of thinking. So when someone says, hey, I'm really bad at making friends. Have you tried making friends? Have you looked at how other people make friends? Do you even care about how others are friends with other people? Or when you watch a movie, you look at how friendship is portrayed in a movie, or reading books about friendship, or playing video games about friendships and relationships. No, in my opinion, a lot of times when people say they want to get better at something, they don't work at it. Like, rarely. They hope that it intuitively or naturally comes to you, which, yes, it can still happen by coincidence. That's called getting lucky, and making your own luck is far more consistent. So, how do you get better at character design? Usually you would look at character design and then understand why they designed their characters that way. So if you're in a creative, if you're gonna seek a creative career, I would encourage anyone to be interested in other creators. And for myself, I've always wanted to be a director. When I was a high school kid, I wanted to direct, whether it's a video game or a movie. So what I did over my life, even though I went to science, is that in my hobbies, I learned a bit of music. I played and produced music for my own personal use. I learned how to sing a bit and trained my ears to some extent. Voice acting, speaking, public speaking, creative writing. I've done at least 1 or 2 classes in all of those things, despite not using them for any reasons outside of fulfilling general education requirements in college. I had to do all those things. What I often encounter now is someone says like, well, I don't want to do those things. I just want to do this. Like, I just want to draw things. And I'm like, well, if you need to draw things, you also need to write things. How else are you going to convey things? You also need to record things. Like, well, I want to make a video game, but I only want to be involved in the making of the game mechanics. It's like, well, then your game's gonna suck. At least in my opinion. The odds of your game being successful when you're uncultured and you don't care and you're not interested in game making is going to suck. Like, for example, if you want to learn another language and you hate learning the learning process, you can still be successful. It's just, the reality is it's going to suck, because thinking that you hate doing what you need to spend most of your time doing and hoping for the results, I feel that's what the internet has done. Like, how do you get fit? Be like this guy. He summarized it. He summarized his year's training in 30 minutes. And then your thought is, I'm just going to start this and it's going to feel like in no time I'm going to become this guy, because it took only 30 minutes to process all the stuff. It's that easy. And then you go and do it and you're like, I absolutely hate every day. It's like, I don't get it. How does this guy just do this for a year? Like, you're right. It's not that easy, right? You didn't study a person. You didn't look at what they're saying. You simply were interested in the results and what they're selling, not what they were doing. And I think that's kind of a big thing about artists. In October, when I'm doing artwork, I've encountered most, if not all of them, I would say 9 out of 10 times, someone says, oh yeah, I want to become an artist or a graphic designer or something, and I'm just going to do whatever I want. I'm like, okay, I hope you do whatever you want, get so good at it that you create your own demand. That's basically what I wish the best for them each time, right? They would show me some of their artwork, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting. May I ask what you're trying to convey here? And then I'll share you with my thoughts, right? I'll share with you my thoughts about it. And oftentimes someone would say, well, I'm an artist, so I just make art for my own sake. My dream is to make art where people care about my art, not that I care about other people. And okay, it's possible if you're a savant. Like, you create the demand for your thing. If that's what you're going to dedicate your life to, I hope you succeed. I rarely have ever taken that approach, so I'm not entirely sure. I'm sort of taking that approach now. Like, this whole streaming thing, I am taking that approach now. And how successful is it? It's clearly not successful in the way that other people are successful, right? Because I'm legitimately choosing to ignore something. Now the difference is I'm not upset because I understand how it works. A savant doesn't care, and they'll still be successful. A person who thinks they're a savant and they're doing their thing and then get angry at someone else is like, I don't get it. Why do people not care about my artwork? Like, I spend like 60 hours on this art piece and everyone's like getting the wrong idea about it. Like, well, first of all, you're not a savant. That's probably the reality. And then also, people don't care about your artwork because you don't care about them. Right? So you can keep on doing it and hope that one day you are elevated to the point of a savant. That's a possibility. Like, spend most of your lifetime curating a skill that you share no compassion with anyone else. That's fair. And if you're happy about it, that's what makes savants. They're happy about it. It's insatiable. What I'm doing right now is insatiable. I absolutely love ranting and digressing about creative people and how they really just don't they no longer need to care about other people. They draw the attention to them. That's cool. And I kind of hope in my wild imaginations I might have some of that. If I don't think I'm a savant. I already know that if I wanted to attract more attention, I do short format videos, right? Spend all the time curating and editing my hot takes, maybe even publish a book, do some, cross advertisements, grab a bunch of sponsorships. Like there are a lot of things that I typically just throw out. So the thing is, I don't need them. So I can keep doing this being happy. It's different when someone says, oh yeah, I'm just doing something I like and I hope I can turn it into a career. And then I ask them, have you considered your audience? And they're like, no, I just think that if I keep doing the thing I like, eventually someone will notice. That okay, I hope you're a savant and I hope you get lucky. That's all I can really say. If you're asking for my opinion, you are going to fail most of the time. 9 out of 10 times you will fail, because you have to be serendipitously and lucky to somehow understand all those things without caring about anyone else. It's crazy to think that you can convey your artwork if you literally don't care about most people. Like, that's involved. So one thing that people say often is like, oh, I don't get it. Why do like people not trust each other? Why is everyone I know lie to each other? It's like, do you lie? Do you care about understanding why people lie to each other that's around you? I'm not actually saying everyone lies. You're saying everyone lies. Or like no one is trustworthy or no one's reliable. Do you understand what that means? Do you know why people become unreliable? Or why you attract unreliable people? What makes someone unreliable? Right? It's different when you understand people's nature instead of blaming and pointing fingers of things you don't understand. So when someone says like, oh, everyone always lies to me, I'm like, you must lie to everyone else. Have you considered that? And then that person would say, well, I always tell the truth. It's like, oh, do you? So then there must be another explanation. Do you always say something that's misunderstood? You're like, well, I always speak clearly. Like, well, you don't speak clearly to the people that are clearly lying to you. Like, why do you think they lie to you? Maybe they're not even lying to you. Do you know what it is that makes people lie or tell white lies? We're talking about white lie situation because it's often a very common occurrence. So oftentimes it's very selfish, right? Like the person, they desire something being done for them, but they do not put in the effort to understand it. Like, man, how can I get better at speaking when I'm always nervous about speaking? Why doesn't anyone else appear like it feels like everyone else is just better at speaking than I am? It's like they probably never get nervous because they're better speakers. Like, have you asked other people when they speak, do they get nervous? Like, no, because I just assume yada yada yada. It's like, if you ask them, I think most of them will say they get nervous at speaking. So it's kind of one of those realities. When you do artwork, when someone says something like, man, this person spends like 0 time doing their artwork and they're super popular. I put in way more time on my artwork and it doesn't get as nearly as popular as this person. It's like, but do you understand why your artwork is popular? Because you have no rights or wisdom or cultured nature to understand why their artwork is popular. Your argument doesn't even have to deal with why they're popular. You argued you spend more time on your artwork and that other person spends less time. So time is not enough to explain the difference. So learn from that. Crazy. Anyways, you just finished basic drawing part 3. Drawings part 3? Nice. Part 3. How many parts do you have? Sub for your this is still your portfolio, right? For basic drawings. Does the college like give you an idea of what should be in your portfolio? Like where do you like learn what is that they're looking for? Do you get any of that, or are you like you're like triangulating what they might want or something like that? A term that describes individuals who engage in physical activities or games that require skill, strength, and competition. Okay. A non-Japanese term that refers to the act of asking someone to marry you. Oh no. I might drop this. Okay. Okay. 2 more parts. Nice, nice. Okay. Keep up the good work. Refers to 2 things or people together. Oh. Oh, fair enough. A martial art that involves striking, kicking, and defensive techniques begin in the Ryukyu Kingdom of Japan. That's kind of a neat little inclusion. A large hall or room used for lectures, presentation, and gathering. Which one do they use? It's not talk. Oh yeah, it's talk. Oh no, they used lecture for. Okay. The study or management of interactions between countries on a global scale. Okay, so this one's a little. And then we were taking occasion, right? Or the states, sort of. Case. So. Okusai. And then relationships. Oh, I didn't finish writing this. Show floor, toko, and then ya. What was this? Use roof. So is it still ya? I think it's good. Oku, roof, ya. Barbershop. No, you asked ChatGPT, so you gotta do basic drawings like what all you have in an indoor space, like electric appliances, furniture, doors, windows, curtains, etc. Oh, okay. Then you've got to prepare floor plans. Oh, fair enough. Alright. Young female who enroll in education. An expression used to describe something like a movie or a song that becomes very popular and successful. Oh, okay. Okay. A moving staircase often used in shopping centers. An expression of time referring to 480 seconds. Okay. Okay. A non-Japanese word for a device used to generate warmth in an indoor space, often using electricity. Another heat source. Alright, let's get into it. Okay.
私の息子は空手を習っています。
私が作詞した歌が大ヒットしました。
作詞さ。Interesting.
先生、両手を上げてください。
What? Oh, I added an extra E. An extra ooh. Wait.
私の娘は女子学生です。
Not 女子。女子。
ここから一番近い床屋はどこですか？
あなたはパンダのことを可愛いと思いますか？
来月プロポーズする予定だ。
ヒーターでお湯を沸かしてください。
今から8分間走らなくてはいけません。
Dang it. I used doll and then what was it? Conversation? Discussion? Oh, it was probably discussion. Oh no, lecture.
行動に行く。
エスカレーターに乗る。
夏に地域の人々と盆踊りを踊る。
おやつにまんじゅうを5つも食べました。
そのトラックの高さは 2.5 メーターだ。
Okay. Excuse me.
私の本が売り切れるまでにどのくらいかかりましたか？
Ah.
私の兄はプロのスポーツ選手です。
It looks so weird in kana or hiragana.
看板。入場料は1人300円になります。
What? Uh. Oh, I missed the. Okay.
国際関係に興味を持つ。
Sai is a weak character. That's a pretty weak character.
なんでそんな迷信を信じているの？
裁判でどっちが悪かったか白黒つけましょ
う。Alright. That's a wrap for today. I definitely indulged today for like 3 hours? 2 hours? 2.5 hours? Not too bad. Alright, folks, that's a wrap for Bunpro today. If you're gonna watch this later, arigatou gozaimasu. As always, feel free to follow along, pick up Bunpro for yourself, give it a go. You're always welcome to come on by, yap, discuss, exchange thoughts, experiences. You know, we talked about bibliographies today that spiraled into a credibility and accountability, right? Then things like skill development. I usually throw in skill developments related back to language learning and whatnot. You gotta bring it all together. So, hey, if you want to discuss things like that, we'll put it all together as well. Discussion breeds inspiration. I'm gonna go take a break. Like a quick break here. I still have Hanza Hero to do today. Alright. So for now, right? 皆さんまたね。見てくれてありがとう. Right. Thanks for watching. See you guys next time. I want to take a quick break, stretch, walk around, and I'll be back for Hanza Hero. Thanks, sub, if you're going.